I'm Elaine Sims, and I have had the honor of being asked by Gary White to do a few programs on some of the history of Washington County. I actually am a Marion County native, but I was also would have been considered Washington County since Marion County broke off from us in Washington County in 1832. In an effort to do this, I have tried to do a lot of research. I am not a historian, have never claimed to be, but I do love this county and what it offers to the history of Kentucky and also to all of America. I'm trying to present the facts. Some may be folklore. I don't want anyone to judge that I think I know what I'm doing, but I'm giving it my best effort. We have decided that we would start with the beginning of Washington County, which was formed in 1792. We are on the home place of General Matthew Walton. Matthew Walton was a huge landowner in Kentucky. He came here very early. Kentucky was a part of Fincastle County and broke off from Virginia. I think it's important to note that Kentucky was part of Virginia from the shore to the Ohio River before we officially became our own state in 1792. Matthew Walton had a huge influence on Washington County being formed, and I have the honor of having with me today Norma Campbell, who lives on the Walton Plantation. I'm going to call it that. You're a native of Washington County.
I was born in Maud, Kentucky.
And you left, and then you came back.
Yes, yes.
And you bought this place how many years ago?
31 years ago. I don't believe it.
What was your attraction? Was it the history? Was it the land? I know you raised sheep, the property. What drew you to this place?
Well, we had lived in a subdivision. My kids grew up in Frankfort, and we were looking for a little farm just to move out of town, a little farm. And this came available. My father lived next door, and he called me and said, you know, the farm's going to be sold. Why don't you come down and buy it? I said, Daddy, we can't buy a farm like that. We wanted a little woods, you know, or something. And anyway, we went somewhere that weekend, somewhere else, that they had the auction. And Daddy, I called him and I said, who bought the farm? He said, nobody, and you get yourself down here. And I said, Daddy, I told you we came by. I don't know how we got it. I don't remember saying, let's buy it. But anyway, we bought the farm.
And I think we should say this farm is located right across from St. Catherine's College, past the new entrance. It's on the right-hand side. The large brick house is very visible. We are in the small brick house that as you come to the road from Bardstown, you can see this one. And the home that you bought at the time was actually quite large for two people, right?
No.
No, okay.
I think maybe it takes that much house for us so we can hide from each other. It has 2 staircases too, so we can really hide. I don't know why we bought it. I mean, I've never known.
Yeah, something just drew you here.
Yeah, I think God planted us here for some reason. And because we were here, we didn't move here, actually. We just fixed up one room. It was cold.
That's where
winter.
Alec Barber lived in. He had one room.
He had the same room. And Virgil kept his job in Frankfort, and I was running the farm.
Did you have an affinity at that time for Matthew Walton, or was there something about it that?
Well, I always liked history. Maybe not always. Maybe not when I was in school. Should have, but since I've always liked history, and then we got to digging into it, and it's very fascinating, the things that's happened here. Not very many families, you know, have lived in this place.
Yes, and you know, we may go over that in a little bit because I think some of the viewers would know the families that have lived here. this is the house that people will see from the road now is not the original house, correct?
No.
The original house.
Oh, this one? Oh,
this one is.
Yeah,
that we're
this
in the
one
cabin.
is, yes.
Well, I'm gonna say the cabin.
Yeah.
This is the law office, or the manor house.
I don't know.
I'm not sure
where
he was a
somebody
lawyer.
made that.
I'm not sure that he was even a lawyer. I haven't even.
Some
really,
of that's folklore, I think.
And they called him General Walton, but I don't know that he was. He served in the Revolutionary War.
Mm-hmm.
He probably got some land warrants for his service. That was their pay because they didn't have any money. So the government awarded them land, and they gave him land in what I'm going to call the Kentucky Territory. And he also was a surveyor. And is it your understanding that sometimes when they surveyed, they got property for payment?
That's what I've read.
Yeah.
You know, there is a lot recorded about Matthew Walton. Some things I doubted, but then I read them that I think is fact.
He was the first cousin of George Walton, and I think it'd be interesting for the viewers to just go on your internet and Google George Walton, and you will definitely recognize his signature as being on the Declaration of Independence.
And Walton, Matthew would have signed the Kentucky Constitution. He served on the Kentucky Constitution, but he didn't sign it. I don't know why.
That's interesting.
In Danville.
Yeah, yeah. So Matthew came here. There's so many discrepancies in all the different information I've looked at. He could have owned between 60,000 and 200,000 acres in Kentucky. And you pointed out that in 1800, Cumberland Falls was deeded to Matthew Walton and another gentleman.
He was the first owner of Cumberland Falls.
Cumberland Falls.
They tell that in their story. I think it had to do with the silver mine that's supposed to be in Washington County, but that's another story.
Okay.
I think it has to do with that.
Okay.
He was on.
Okay.
He was involved with that. He was involved with a lot of things.
He was. I mean, we could go on and on about all the things that he did that are so interesting. And my mind is just, bombarded with so much information. He married Frances Watkins. Mm-hmm. At that time, they were still in
Virginia.
Mm-hmm. He brought her here.
He had built the manor house at that time.
Okay. And then he brought her here.
Mm-hmm.
Did he live here as a bachelor then?
He lived in this house.
As a bachelor.
What's that, about 10 years?
And then he built the big house.
Less than that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And no, he had it built.
Okay, he had it built.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think it's worth saying that some of the information I have read is that it's very likely that Thomas Lincoln, the president's father, had some, was definitely a master carpenter and probably worked on the interior of that house with the woodwork. And probably, I've read twice, that he made the mantle that was in that original house. So that house stood for 100?
Not just about 100 years.
About 100 years.
Mine is older than that now, the one that was rebuilt there. But on this ceiling in this other room, I'm sure is part of that old house that they tore down, because the ceiling has some boards in it that have beading, and they're cherry. So I'm sure they came from the old house.
Yes.
I see parts of that old house. You know how they saved everything? I keep seeing parts of it around.
Over there and over here.
And over here.
And there, in the house that you live in, the kitchen is?
The old kitchen.
Old kitchen.
Was 1790.
Okay, 1790.
When the first house was built.
So the house was raised in 1900 by
John R. Barber.
John R. Barber. I assume it's like people do now. It was a wonderful old house, but he thought it needed some modernization, and so instead of modernizing the present house, the house before, he decided to tear it down and build a new one.
Well, they say that it was haunted too.
Oh, but that wouldn't have got rid of the ghost.
Where he hanged someone in the attic and left the hanging rope.
Not Matthew Walton?
No.
Someone else later?
Yes.
Do you think your house is haunted?
It could be.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of history there.
A lot of people have seen things there. I really haven't.
So the house is definitely different. It's got has dark woodwork, has oak woodwork. You can when I've walked into it, I feel like I'm walking into a cave. It's so sound. It has a chapel upstairs, which did the Barbers put in the chapel, or was it there before?
No.
And it's
they
still
put
there.
it in.
It's still there.
Yes.
And then you, of course, live here, and then this little piece of property, this little house that we're in right now, you got a grant to restore this, and in what year was that?
Let's see, it's 2009, I think.
Okay, so about 8 or 9 years ago, and then so you. I noticed you have a bathroom, so you ran water. Was it already here? Was the water here?
No.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay.
It had 2 rooms.